the Denver Broncos finally made that big push for a quarterback that they've been needing for a really long time. So let's break them down and see what they can do to keep improving, because ultimately they are very close to winning a championship. Let's get into it. What's up, guys? I'm Tyler Coker, and I'm your host for today's episode of Today with Tyler. I hope you enjoy. First, we'll begin with their free agents. Their free agents include Kyle Fuller, the corner, Melvin Gordon, the running back, Bryce Callahan, the corner, Kareem Jackson, the strong safety, Teddy Bridgewater, the quarterback, who doesn't matter anymore, and also signed with the Miami Dolphins, and Bobby Massey, the offensive tackle. So not terrible, but ideally they could bring back some of those pieces. Their offense has desperately needed a franchise quarterback ever since Peyton Manning left, and boy did they get it. Russell Wilson is now a Bronco, and I think it's going to be a very good fit because now he actually has an offensive line and he has more weapons than he did before and a very strong running game, which I'll get into. So their wide receiver room is absolutely ridiculous, and they didn't give up any wide receivers to actually get Russell Wilson. They still have Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton, and Tim Patrick, which is just ridiculous. And their tight end room has some room for improvement because they did trade away Noah Fant. But overall, and I'm going to say this wrong, Albert Okwuegbunam is still a good tight end, and I apologize that I got his name absolutely wrong. Adding to the deadly nature of the passing game, especially with Russell Wilson, is the running game, which is very effective. Javonte Williams is the breakout rookie that I expected him to be, and honestly, he did a really good job winning me my fantasy league this year. Melvin Gordon is still retaining his abilities, but realistically, he won't want to be back because Javonte is sprouting and Melvin Gordon still wants to be a running back one somewhere. Those two, if he does come back though, make for quite the run game, and they're always fresh and extremely powerful. Surprisingly, their O-line was ranked below average this year, with Garrett Bowles being their best lineman at left tackle, but both their starting guards landed on IR by the end of the year in Dalton Reisner and Graham Glasnow, but neither were phenomenal when they were on the field. Center Lloyd Cushenberry III improved dramatically this year, but still performed significantly below average, and right tackle Bobby Massey had a decent season to anchor the opposite side of the line. So one of their biggest needs for this offseason will most likely be that offensive line, just because when you get a new quarterback who has so much potential to be the franchise-chasing guy you want him to be, you have to protect him. And so don't be surprised if they make a lot of offensive line moves, especially at guard and center. Their defense is punishing, however. They were a top 10 secondary during the season, and their corner depth is loaded if they can re-sign everybody. They have starting caliber corners in Pat Surtain II, their first-round rookie, Ronald Darby, Bryce Callahan, and Kyle Fuller, the former All-Pro from Chicago. Justin Simmons is one of the best young safeties in the game, but unfortunately his counterpart and strong safety is Kareem Jackson, and he wasn't quite as prolific this year. Looking at their box is a little bit underwhelming, as they were about average against the run and pass rushing as well. Bradley Chubb had a rather unexpectedly poor year, getting him ranked last out of 114 edge rushers by PFF, which isn't a very good sign. Although PFF grades aren't perfect, being last is usually a really good sign that you had a bad season. Malik Reed followed suit, having himself a poor 2021, and although it wasn't quite as bad, it still wasn't good. Luckily for those two, the rest of the linebacker core picked up their slack, as both Josie Jewell and Alexander Johnson had phenomenal seasons as inside linebackers. They had to carry the entire box though, because Shelby Harris, who got traded away, Deshaun Williams, and Draymond Jones all did poorly as a defensive line. They need significant line improvements to really make a Super Bowl push, since although they do have such a fantastic offense, they also need a fantastic defense, because not only are they fighting a tough division, once you get in the playoffs, the AFC is so hard to win. There's so many good teams, and you really need skills all over the defense to win and take over the AFC, because it is absolutely stacked this year. So written out, I kind of have their top positional needs in defensive end, linebacker, defensive tackle, offensive guard, and offensive tackle. And then ideally they could also get a center, maybe even Alec Lindstrom, but we'll see. an ideal draft is something around, they don't have a first round pick this year. In the second, I would hope that they could pick up an edge rusher, maybe Drake Jackson, maybe Boye Mafe, more realistically Cameron Thomas, or someone who fell a little bit. I don't know who's going to fall, just because it's hard to see what the NFL sees, but they do need an edge rusher. They do need outside linebackers. I could see him taking Myjai Sanders from Cincinnati. He's one of my favorites. In the third, I'm taking Abraham Lucas, the Washington State offensive tackle. And then also in the third, Haskell Garrett, the Ohio State defensive tackle. So they have trenches that they need to work on, but all their skill positions are so good. And as we saw this year, offensive line can be ignored a little bit if you want to go to the Super Bowl. So Russell Wilson has succeeded without an offensive line, and now he has a better team around him and a better offensive line. So I'm excited to see what they do. I'm mostly going to do a film breakdown of it at some point. And let's get excited for this AFC West smackdown that we're going to see every single week when a divisional game plays. Thank you for listening to the Denver Broncos.